Welcome back to another Sports Desk show. I'm your host, Payton on the radio, alongside of my co-host, SteelFlyers, as we got another great show ahead of you as we're going to be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals. We also got some extensions that have been signed not that long ago. We're going to get into NFL talk, some trades in the MLB. We got so much good stuff to talk about. And Steel, how's it going, my man?
Oh, man, it's doing great. I hope we can fit it all in because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I hope we can fit it all in. So buckle your seatbelts, folks, because we're going to dive right in. The first thing that we love to do, first of all, is talk about our top stories. And boy, I'll tell you what, there couldn't be anything more top story than the Stanley Cup Finals coming out with Game 1 last night with Tampa Bay Lightning at home against the Montreal Canadiens and winning that game 5-1.
Oh, it was a real good game. It was a lot of fun to watch. We're going to get more into it on the scoreboards later on in the show because we got tons of stuff to talk about here in our headliners today. So we're going to get into this game a little bit more. But It was a juicy one. And we're going to be talking about what's going to be happening with the rest of the series after this huge 5-1 win from the Tampa Bay Lightning. So in our next story today is going to be the NHL award show that will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and it will be giving away the last five awards: the Hart Memorial, the Calder, James Norris, the Ted Lindsay, and the Vezina are all going to be announced today. We could see Connor McDavid potentially win the Hart Trophy. Sidney Crosby's up for the Ted Lindsay. We also got Kaprizov, Nedeljkovic, and Robertson up for the Calder. The Norris Trophy showing off the two young kids in Cale Makar and Adam Fox, and also Victor Hedman as well. And then a really great-looking Vezina nominees with Marc-Andre Fleury, Philip Grubauer, and Andre Vasilevsky. I can't wait for this award show. Now, it's going to be basically what it was last year, all online, so it's all going to be virtual. 30 minutes usually the show is. They do little interviews, which I don't mind this show because it gets it done and over with. You get to see who wins the awards. And honestly, I'm pretty excited to see who wins the awards tonight, especially for that James Norris and that Vezina.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, I'm really going to be interested to see what they do at the Calder. You know what I mean? Because everybody's talking about Krill and everything like that, but maybe it's going to go to Robertson. Who knows? Even Nedeljkovic is on there for that as well, too. So I think it's going to be amazing. I understand why they're doing it like this, but I like the fact that they've turned this into an awards event night for the players. You know what I mean? To where the players can, wear a nice suit, tied, get dressed up, red carpet kind of thing, get a nice award. They actually hand them the trophy. You know what I mean? I really am glad that they did that. I'm sort of sad that they've scaled it back a little bit because of the COVID, and I'm hoping that after we deal with all this COVID things, that next year, once we get back to normal season and normal everything else, that we'll have normal awards and we'll get everybody together for the big gala where they hand awards out and they have everybody come and the whole 9 yards, and it's all that oh, sorry you didn't win, look. Or that, I'm glad somebody else won and not me, clap. You know what I mean? Sorry, I want to see that. I just do because it's tension. It's, who's going to win? Who's going to win? This is who we think is going to win, but who's it going to be? You know what I mean? And there's some really, really great players out there for these trophies. I mean, oh my gosh, we're talking about the cream of the crop here, folks, as far as the winners of these trophies here for tonight. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. I'm glad they're doing the same thing that they did last year.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about not the award show, but I'm also excited to see maybe potentially McDavid win the Hart, which I'm really excited to see him win that award once again, and just everything, and especially the Norris and the Vezina, just the goalies and the defense that are stacked up in there. We could see the start of a legacy either with Cale Makar or Adam Fox, as they are tremendous defensemen, and I'm hoping to see either one of those defensemen win the award over Victor Hedman this year, as it's time to see the new regime of defensemen take over.
Yeah, I'm with you. We're not taking anything away from Victor Hedman at all.
No.
But we look, both you and I feel that Fox would be our pick to win this award.
Without a doubt.
Right. Okay.
Now, the problem is I don't think he'll get it because he wasn't in the playoffs this year,
Right.
and they'll most likely give it to Victor Hedman. Now, you look at Victor Hedman. This year, he didn't have as great of a season. I was actually even surprised he got nominated for this Norris because this year he had a bit of a down year than compared to the other seasons. Now, he's been fantastic in the playoffs. He's been absolutely been able to change his game. But Adam Fox, without a doubt, this year was one of the best defensemen in the NHL alongside of Cal McCarr. It's just Adam Fox was able to play really good both sides of the game, and he brought a spectacular two-way game. And I hope he does win the award, but I have a feeling it most likely will go to Victor Hedman just because the usual NHL stuff.
Yeah, like I said, we would like to see Fox win because we feel that Fox is deserving. But, hey, it's all how the NHL rolls and whoever they're going to give it to is who they're going to give it to. But the fact of the matter is this, that he's even being talked about, that he's even being mentioned.
And at his age?
Yeah. Okay.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive. So that means this. If they give it to Hedman this year, more than likely he'll be up for it next year. Because that's usually how it rolls, right? Like you're up for it the 1 year, and then maybe the next year or the year after you win it. You know what I mean? It just seems that way because they always tend to try to give the trophy to somebody who hasn't won it before, sometimes depending. You know what I mean? I think that's how it's going to fly with the Vezina because I really think that Fleury is going to probably get it, even though I think Vasilevsky or Grubauer had better numbers, I think, this year and potential. But Vasilevsky's already won it. You know what I mean? And Grubauer is still relatively young where he potentially could be up for it again next year, depending on how he plays. You know what I mean? I think because he missed some time there, he dropped off there a little bit at the end of the season.
I also think that the GMs vote for the Vezina, I think, if I'm correct on it. I think the GMs vote for the Vezina, and it might be a little bit of a different voting year, too, because a lot of these GMs didn't get to see the goalies, and on the ice. You only really get to see that guy on the TV, so maybe we're going to get to see a little bit of a different voting, a little bit of a different opinion. Maybe we're going to be focusing more on the numbers this year than ever before, but I'm really excited for the award show tonight. It's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It should be a daisy as we'll head off to our next story. Some extensions to talk about as this one will excite me as the Edmonton Oilers are set to sign Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to a new 8-year extension worth $41 million. So he'll be making $5.125 million for the next 8 years for the Edmonton Oilers. And I absolutely enjoyed this deal. Nuge over the past year.
Yeah, that's
has really been coming into
deal.
himself. It's big team friendly. He took about $1 million off of what he was making in his previous contract. He had a 7-year, $6 million contract for his last contract. So he took a pretty decent cut. He wanted longer term, but this only takes him until 36 years of age. And that's not bad for $5.1 million when you
only
definitely
36
know
years?
the cap.
Of age?
And we all know that the cap's going to be going up. So I love that. I love this deal. He's a great two-way player for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's been going up, and he's in the prime of his career right now. And at $5.1 million, it's a perfect deal for the Edmonton Oilers.
That's a really good team-friendly deal. I mean, he did 16 goals and 19 assists for 52 games this year. So, I mean, it's not like he's lighting up the scoreboard, but he's one of those guys that you need to have in your lineup because he does a lot of the things. He's a good penalty killer. He's on the power play. You know what I mean? He plays really good 5-on-5. He's a good responsible player. I mean, you know what I mean? These are the kinds of players you need to have in your roster because they help to fill in the gaps. Because let's face it, when everybody's focused on, Connor McDavid or Draisaitl, you got to have other guys that can step in there that don't have 2 or 3 guys draped all over them that are going to be wide freaking open. You know, you need to have those guys, you know what I mean? And he's one of those guys. And I think this is exactly what you said. Perfectly team friendly deal. It's what, 5.1 AAV?
Yeah. $5.1 million.
Yeah. That's Man, okay, gosh. If that's all you wanted, you could have come to Philly. Gee, what? We could afford that.
Well, the thing, I think Ryan Rashog there, the TSN reporter, he put it perfectly. He was like, if Nuge got out into the open market, I think Nuge probably would have been paid $7-8 million in the open market. And Nuge is a really good player. Two-way wise, he's fantastic. He wasn't able to run his own line, but he wasn't playing with great line mates throughout the season. And that was the biggest problem for the 5-on-5 production from Nuge this past season was the fact that he played alongside McDavid for majority of the season, but then he was running his own line on the second line, playing with below average wingers. So I think this year when Holland hopefully builds a good team, we could see that depth starting to come in, and you could see two lethal lines. And I think with getting Nuge, that's the first step back, and also getting them on a team friendly deal like what we did here, $5.1 million in a win now team is absolutely amazing. And I love the contract. And we'll get on to another Canadian team who signed another player to another extension is the Toronto Maple Leafs. They signed back Wayne Simmons to a 2-year extension with $900,000. He was pretty good in the past season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, getting 7 goals to assists. Wasn't the biggest contributor to the team, but he was a greasy player, is what you call a playoff warrior. Now, he didn't get too many points in the playoffs, but he's a pretty physical guy. And, of course, Steele, you know him as a Philly fan. And do you like this signing for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Oh, yeah. I was actually hoping that we could potentially try to lure him back to Philly because he's one of those types of players that, like, look, he has that reputation where you don't want to fight him. Okay, he has that reputation. Okay, so that means that he's going to be that policeman out there on the ice, and I believe that every team needs to have that player. Okay, he's not a goon, not by any stretch. Not by any stretch. He has good hands. He plays I like his game. He's that guy that'll stand there in front of the net for you, especially in the power play, and get that screen going. Okay, which is what you need for today's goalies. You need a guy that can stand in front of the net and do that screen because goalies are too athletic and too good now. You need to have that extra edge, especially on the power play. That's where most of all his goals were scored, in his office. I mean, that's what they call it, his office, right there in front of the net. You know what I mean? So a physical player, a guy who's still able to do it at 32 years of age. He missed about 6 to 8 weeks, I think he missed because of a broken hand or a broken wrist that he sustained during the season this year. So that really hindered his points production. And then he came back, and they kind of gingerly came back, because he took a really bad slash to the wrist. And that's why his wrist got broken. You know what I mean? So he was able to come back a little bit in the playoffs, contribute. I think he had a goal and an assist or something like that during the playoffs. But, yeah, he wasn't that much of a factor. But Wayne Simmons, he's one of those guys. He's a leader, and he's not afraid to speak up. If he thinks you're playing bad or horrible, he'll come out and tell you. He'll call you out on it. He might not have the letter on his sweater. He doesn't have a letter on a sweater, but he's probably part of the leadership group, that's for sure, because he's one of those guys that, can go into a locker room and call out guys and say, hey, man, you're playing like dirt, because this is how he's bringing it every night. The guy plays hurt, but he's a warrior. You know what I mean? So if you can't come out there and hang with him, then he's going to tell you. So I think this is a great move for Toronto. Being able to see him out there for a full season is only going to help him and help Toronto because he's that type of player. So I think this is a great re-signing for Toronto. And that's even way more team friendly. $900,000 a year for the next 2 years. That's even below minimum.
That fits. That fits. Right underneath the salary cap, but the Toronto Maple Leafs, he'll fit perfectly on that fourth line, making $900,000 a year. It's not $1 million. It's a really nice contract for Wayne Simmons. Brings some muscle in there. Brings a nice leadership guy into the squad, and I think it's a really good signing, especially if you just rely on bringing back the old vets and Simmons and Spencer, and you don't try to bring back Foligno and Thornton and try to make this team a little bit more faster. I like the additions of Spencer and Simmons, but I think the biggest thing is you can go too old with the team. You know, you need to have a mixture, kind of like what Montreal's having right now.
Exactly.
You need to have a lot of speed, but if you have one or two of those old vets like Eric Stahl and Corey Perry, it's perfect for you. So I think a Simmons and Spence is perfect. I wouldn't go too much more with these vets and go insane like what they did last year. Because I feel like it just kind of contradicts itself. When you have too much leadership in the room, you'll have butting heads. And I think this is the kind of the core you're looking for. And now it's time to improve that top six. Time to get some wingers to play alongside of Matthews, because Galchenyuk wasn't that guy throughout the regular season and in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and he caused a huge turnover that ended, giving Montreal some momentum in that series. So I think, these signings are great, but Dubas can go too old. And I think that's the biggest thing that they got to stay away from, is they got to make sure that they stay towards their game, which is speed. And Toronto plays it best. So let's get on to our next story, as we got some news from Elliot Friedman, as he said that the Montreal Canadiens are going to be named the hosts of the NHL draft in 2022. Now, the Montreal Canadiens were supposed to host the event back in 2020, but unfortunately it was held virtually instead because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're going to be having one back in Montreal once again. It hasn't been held there since 2009, I think. So pretty excited for Montreal Canadiens fans. It got canceled back in 2020, but now they're going to get it in 2022.
It's always great when they can have these, like, so the NFL did it this past year, and the draft this year for the NHL is going to be live. Yeah. Right? They're not doing virtual or anything like that. It's going to be live, right?
Oh, this upcoming draft?
Yeah,
I think this upcoming draft is going to be virtual, I think, one more time once again, and then next year it's going to be in Montreal, I think. Is how it's going to go.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. I thought it was going to be live this year because NFL did it live this year.
Maybe, right? But I thought
we'll get our crack research staff on that little tidbit of juicy information. But either way, the fact that they were supposed to have it in 2020 and we're not able to have it, and now they're going to get a shot to do it again next year, I think that's all good. You know what I mean? I like watching the excuse me, I like watching the NHL draft because it's a great way to get the team and the game out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it will be held virtually for the draft this year, between for the draft this upcoming season, and then also Las Vegas is going to be hosting the 2022 NHL All-Star Weekend, which is just exciting to hear about again because we haven't seen the All-Star game in a while now. So Las Vegas, it's going to be a party there. It's going to be on the Vegas Strip. And what a perfect place to put the All-Star game for the NHL in Las Vegas. Perfect.
I want to know who was the person that came up with the idea that said, hey, let's put an NHL team in Vegas. Because that person should be getting a very large check every year. Because look,
there was a lot of people, all of us, even I said that Vegas wasn't even going to become a team, just like how Arizona did, and it all baffled us away. Like, it's blown us away with how good Vegas has been.
Well, I think what they did is they pretty much said that they got the city invested. So I think the city paid for a good portion of building the arena that they played in or something like that, or it was part of a special election tax thing that they did or something in Vegas so they could build the stadium or something like that. I mean, the community is very intertwined into that whole team, and I think that's how you really need to do it. Because if you look at like hockey teams like in Detroit, in Philadelphia, in Chicago, in Edmonton, in Montreal, in Toronto, those are all hockey cities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The team has been there for a length of time. They're ingrained into the community. They're, they're part of all of the, raising money for charities. And, like I said, they're part of the community. You know what I mean? And so that's the way to do it, is get the community involved. And then you can have, I think that's exactly what Seattle's doing too. I think Seattle is going to blow everybody away even more so because of the amount of support that they're going to have for that team up there.
And I think it also really helped Vegas, make it to the Stanley Cup final in their first ever season as a team. And then it buys everyone in. And I think the way that they did the expansion draft, and I know a lot of people don't like it because usually you see your favorite player leave from your team, but the thing about it is this expansion draft sets up the team for a long time to come. We've seen it with Columbus, Minnesota. When they enter the team, they're still mediocre. I mean, Columbus didn't win a playoff series until Tampa Bay just a couple of years ago, and they've been in the NHL for almost 20 years now. Yeah. So I think setting up a team for success is better in the long run for that team because they get the fans more invested, and that's what we want. We want to see those fans getting invested into that team instead of seeing the team lose and going like 9-70 like the Washington Capitals did back in the day. Yeah. Right when they came into the league and they had a horrible first year, it does not do very well for you to build your team up and to get the fans going. Yeah. And so what they're doing here in Vegas, having the All-Star game there is just absolutely perfect.
I knew it was going to come. I knew that was going to eventually come. You know what I mean? I knew that was eventually going to come. Here's the other thing too. When Columbus set up their team, there wasn't a lot of fanfare, was there?
No, it's also Columbus, Ohio as well.
That's what I mean. Like Columbus, Ohio. All right. The person that thought of that idea is probably not getting as big of a check as the person that thought of the idea to put a team in Vegas. So, but regardless.
But it would help Columbus, Ohio with fans if they were to go right into the Stanley Cup final in their first year inaugurally. If they were able to pull off a huge upset and surprise everyone and make it in, they would have probably had more fans than what they did. And I think it's not saying that Vegas, the only reason why they have fans is because they made it to the Stanley Cup final. They also have loyal fans because it's an amazing place there. It is really a hockey town by the way that it's looked like throughout this past playoffs. It's insane there in Las Vegas, and I could not wait to see the All-Star festivals.
That's going to be good.
The entire weekend is just going to be absolutely fun.
Should be
there,
really
and
good.
Especially for the playoff.
For the All-Star game. Yeah, for the players, because when they were trying to put together the bubble last year, Vegas was considered to be one of the cities that was in the running. Okay. Yep. And quite frankly, I was shocked that they picked two Canadian cities, to be honest with you. I was quite shocked that they did that. But we thought for sure of all the cities in the United States, Vegas would be the one, and either Montreal or Toronto would have been the other one, for the bubble last year, because they were in the running up until like the final couple of weeks. And then they came out with the fact that it was going to be in Edmonton and in Toronto. That's where that's where they were going to play. So Vegas is doing it right. It seems like Seattle is doing it right too. You know what I mean? And it won't be long before you start seeing the same things happen in Seattle. Everybody's talking about how they were able to have the expansion draft, and how, Seattle's not going to be able to have the same type of expansion draft that Vegas did. I think Seattle's still going to be able to get some really good players, and I think they're going to have a lot of draft picks. Not really sure about their coach, but
and the funny thing is, all the people that are saying that Seattle won't turn out to be anything good is the same people that said Vegas wouldn't turn out to be anything good when they drafted their team, and they surprised everyone.
You could see when Vegas was building their team, they made some really great deals.
Oh, really good moves. But before they drafted, like, a lot of teams were writing them off even before.
Before they
writing them off even before they drafted. But even when they did draft their players, like they had a good team, but it was like I don't know, this team could be a tweener team, right? Like it could be there, but then you had emergences of William Karlsson and Shea Theodore started emerging as a great player. And I mean, just all the surprises that came from Vegas was just tremendous. And I think the same people that are underestimating the Seattle Kraken did the same thing when Vegas Golden Knights entered into the league. But who knows? I think Seattle Kraken could pull off the same thing because we're in some cap hell right now throughout the NHL. The cap hasn't moved up, and there's a lot of teams in some sticky situations right now.
And they're looking at Seattle licking their chops.
Yep.
So the last,
we'll head off,
the last top story. Yep, the last top story is your team. Man, was this like all about your teams today? Right? The Toronto Blue Jays acquired Dickinson and Keimer from the Marlins today.
Yes.
So
I know
it's all about your teams today. All right.
I didn't try to. I was like, legit. I was like, oh, no, the Blue Jays made a trade. And the Oilers did something today. I was like, oh, no, okay, I better research. Maybe there's some other MLB moves. There was nothing. But the Blue Jays, pretty nice move. They picked up Corey Dickerson, outfielder, and also Adam Simber, a reliever for the team, which they needed some extra relievers for the club. This year, he's made 33 appearances. He's 1-2 with a 2.88 ERA. With a whip of 1.194 over 34.1 innings pitched. He's been pretty good this year. And also Dickerson's been also pretty good, but right now he's currently sidelined with a foot injury, and he'll be out for a couple weeks. The Blue Jays sent over Joe Panik. He's a utility infielder and also a minor league pitcher as well. So just a small little move by the Toronto Blue Jays, but I really like this move. They get a nice relief pitcher for the core, which they really needed it over the past couple of weeks. We've been blowing our games because of the fact our bullpen can't keep us in it. So this is a nice move for the Blue Jays. Gives us a little bit more depth, and I really like the move for us.
Yeah, it does seem to give them that exactly what you're talking about, some of that depth that they need. And you can never go wrong with bringing in good relievers because you always need bullpen, no matter what. I don't care what anybody says. Baseball teams live and die by their bullpen for real. Okay. Because, and when you have a collection of players that can come out and do the things they need to do in order to get out of innings. Okay. Because that's what you're really trying to do is get out of the inning. You know what I mean? And they need to pitch enough pitches to strike out the guy or to get, whatever they need to do so they can get out of the inning. That's what it's all about, getting out of the inning. So I like this move too. This is a pretty good move here for them, pretty solid move for them. And it only bodes well when you have depth, especially in your bullpen. So for sure. And they're going to be needing it here too, because the All-Star break is coming up here real soon. And usually after the All-Star break, that's when we start getting into the stretch run, to try to make a big push for the playoffs. That's that final, 60, 70 games left to try to make it in. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and this next month, I think the trade deadline is also coming up from the MLB. So like this is going to be a big month coming up for just about every team. And also talking more about this deal quickly, this is a great deal by the Blue Jays. They didn't have to trade away too much either. Only one really pitcher prospect, which I think I heard the name, and he's not too big of a name either. So, they didn't have to give up a whole ton to get some decent depth for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yes, Corey Dickerson might be injured, but later on, once he gets back in the lineup, then perfect. You're going to be really, really, really looking deep up and down the lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays. It makes me excited as a fan, and I'm excited to see what these guys do next for the Blue Jays.
Well, there you go, man. All right, and I believe is that our final? Yep, it is. That's our final top story. There you go, folks. How about that?
It is.
Well, you know what that means. That means it's time to get your doggies out because it's time for a word from our sponsor. That's right. Thanks to Canine Country Club Resorts for all of your sponsorship and all of your help and all of your guidance and all the thank you very much for doing this, being a sponsorship of the SteelFlyers All Sports Network and everything that we're doing here. So thank you very much for that. Please check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com. They're also on Facebook. The weather is really hot right now, so it'd be a great time to get your doggies out into the outdoor pool. So get them scheduled and get that out there. Also, their top-notch groomers are getting pretty booked up, so you want to give them a call and get out there. Check them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com or on Facebook. Thank you very much. We'll be right back after this. Greetings. This is SteelFlyers from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God. Resorts. That's right. You can check them out online at www.cccresorts.com or on Facebook. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. And we're going to get right into the most exciting part that we like. It's called the scoreboard. That's right, man. We bring you all the latest scores from all the games that happened in the last day or two. Every league, every sport, we got you covered. Payton, you want to lead us off, buddy?
Oh, yeah. We got first up the NHL scoreboard as the Stanley Cup Finals have officially started down there, and we're both excited for this as the Montreal Canadiens took on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Tampa Bay won 5-1 in Game 1 as they take the demanding series lead 1-0 over the Canadiens, and this was a pretty entertaining game. It was a beat-up fest. 100 hits. I think it was like 58 for the Canadiens, 57 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were bashing balls all night. Kucherov was firing bullets. I mean, his last goal, I was like, I watch it. It releases, and it's in the back of the net, and I'm like, what?
Wow.
How did that
quick.
go? It was like that was like a lightning bolt right there. No
Yeah.
wonder why he's on the Tampa Bay Lightning. My
I was just
lord.
gonna say they call him the Lightning, right? The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
You know, in the second period, there were 86 hits at the end of the second period. Right? I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, man, there's a lot of banging bodies. And I just wanted to see what the stat was. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled it up and went, holy moly, that's 86 hits in the first two periods.
Yep.
Okay. I agree with you. This was very entertaining, but it was also very revealing. Very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tampa Bay came to play, came with big boy pants, came with A game, came with, yeah, we won it last year. What you got?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it basically was like they picked up Montreal and went smack, 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 smack. And then said, all right, now what? We know Montreal can punch back.
Oh, yeah. And I think the biggest thing out of like this game, watching it, is that Tampa Bay bullied Montreal better than what Montreal bullied Tampa Bay. Right? If you look over the highlights, they were bullying Gallagher all night long. They even dropped him on his head, which looked pretty bad. I really do not want to see that. But in the heat of it, I mean, holy crow, they were all over Gallagher all night. Yeah. They were heavy on the big defenseman, especially Ben Sherratt. They knew that he's like very slow. They just bolted right by him. And that was the biggest thing, that Tampa Bay was just faster than Montreal. It really did look like that. Every shift, Montreal looked slow and very slow. They didn't look very fast. They were horrible at breaking into the zone. Tampa Bay were actually doing a very good job at shutting down the neutral zone before Montreal even broke into the zone.
Yeah.
And not just that, they made sure Montreal didn't get any quality good chances at all when they were in the offensive zone. They made sure that they blocked every chance. Tampa Bay had 15 blocks to 5 over Montreal. They were blocking everything, making sure nothing got to the net. Vasilevsky, he made some pretty good saves, but he didn't have the hardest night in the world.
I was just going to say, it was an pretty easy night, all things considered. You know.
Like, Price got pelleted out there. He had no help from any of his defensemen all night long. Like, it was all Price by himself. And especially near the end of the game, it seemed like Montreal just gave up. They just, they didn't do anything. They were taking dumb penalties. They were actually getting angry for the first time. They were actually getting angry at a team, and Edmonton was like throwing fists at Yanni Gourde. And Yanni Gourde's like, "What are you doing, man? We're like, look at the scoreboard. We're up 5-1. Why are you punching me in my face?"
She was on the other foot this time, wasn't it? Right?
It must have.
It must have been. Okay, because that's the only way I can think of it. Here's the thing, though. This is why I say this was a revealing game. It showed that Tampa Bay is just as fast. It showed that Tampa Bay is just as physical. It showed that it doesn't matter who you're going to throw at Tampa Bay, they're going to be able to take you out. So you didn't hear Kotkaniemi's name. You didn't hear Suzuki's name. You didn't hear Cole Caulfield's name. You didn't hear any of these names last night that you've been hearing every single night now since Montreal's been in the playoffs. But you didn't hear any of them names. Why is that? Because Tampa Bay shut them down. It's just like you pointed out. They had them shut down in the neutral zone. They had them boxed out to where they couldn't get any good quality shots up close or point blank. They were taking all those off-angle shots from the point and from beyond, from down below the dot. You know what I mean? That's not how you score on Vasilevsky. You need to get him moving side to side. You need to get guys in front, and you need to get them shots off there at the point. You know what I'm saying? And with guys in front, that's how you're going to get them against Vasilevsky. You're not going to get these beautiful, glove side slap shots, from the slot. You're not going to score like that on Vasilevsky. You got to get them, 5 guys all piled around there and one squeaks by. That's how you're going to score against Vasilevsky. And they weren't doing that at all. They were trying to be too cute and too finessey and they weren't using their speed. They weren't using their defense. And Tampa Bay was all up ahead of them.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is they were never able to break into the zone. They were never able to get into their structure.
No setup.
And when they did, they looked really good. Once they got into their structure, they looked good, but that's if they were able to get into that structure before Tampa Bay either one hit them or
Yeah.
poked the puck off their stick or
Yeah.
tied them up, whatever it was.
Whatever.
Like even Kakanami, I felt bad. The guy was getting hit all night long, getting nailed. Not just little hits, huge hits. He was getting nailed all night long, and I'm expecting Montreal to bounce back. This is
They can
definitely a
punch
game
back.
where
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they can punch
I
back.
feel like they will. I like Gallagher's going to be ticked off. A lot of these players are going to be ticked off for the Montreal Canadiens. So I expect them to come back. It was a fun game to watch. I'm excited to see what happens in game 2 between the
me too.
Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. It will
Yeah.
be fun.
will be.
But let's transition over to the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, man.
We got some exciting stuff to talk about there.
Sorry
we'll get
about
right
the
into
co-host.
Sunday's games.
Sorry about the co-host. She likes to join in every once in a while. She approves of the
No
Tampa Bay
worries.
Lightning win, by the way.
Mhm.
Right. So, all right. But yeah, man, we got the NBA playoffs are heating up too, and we're down here to the semifinals. And we're down to the final 4 here, folks, and we're coming down to the wire. So.
Yeah, so Sunday's games as we had the Milwaukee Bucks go up against the Atlanta Hawks as the Bucks once again pulled off another huge beating against the Hawks as the Bucks go up 2-1 in the series. Middleton was absolutely insane. Watched a little bit of this game, and Middleton, he's been sort of struggling to score. And in this game, he had no problem doing it. 38 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Even Giannis Antetokounmpo had a lot of help in this game as well.
By the way, on
Another double-double.
points.
Oh, no.
No problem scoring at all.
Trae Young as well. He had a great night, but the problem was he did have a little bit of an injury near the end of the game, a little bit of a bone bruise, so he's a bit questionable for tonight's game. As the Milwaukee Bucks will be going up against the Hawks, of course. That'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Game 4, as the Bucks could potentially go up 3-1. But this was a big win for the Bucks. The Hawks started the series off hot, and now the Bucks, they're really starting to gain some momentum right now.
Yeah, they didn't seem like they were playing all that great in the earlier rounds. I mean, they won, obviously, but it just didn't seem like they were, getting that hot streak like what they seem to be doing now here against the Atlanta Hawks. I also think, too, though, this Trae Young thing, man, he's been their catalyst this whole playoffs. Okay, he's been their leading scorer. He's been where everything runs through Trae Young. And if he misses any time, that does not bode well for the Hawks at all. Okay.
No.
And I think what I saw was I think that I saw that he either tripped over the referee's foot or something like that, or had a run-in with the referee and went down, and that's how he got injured or something like that. I think so. Yeah, with him being out, that's not going to bode well for them at all. And it's already, they're already, down in the series 2-1 right now. It wasn't a, 113-102 is not a big, huge margin of victory, but it's still, double-digit points. For a victory, and you don't want to go out like that, and so that's what I'm saying. I think that the Hawks really stepped up against the Sixers, but I think they're going to need to do the same thing here for the Bucks if they want to have any chance of doing anything here to move forward. So.
And that's the biggest thing. Like if Trae Young does miss this game, that means guys like John Collins and Gallinari and Clint Capella, those guys are going to have to step up big time. For the Atlanta Hawks going into this next game tonight. It's going to be a big one. Now, he is questionable, so there is a chance that Trae Young might play, and I think Trae Young most likely will, unless it's a really, really bad injury. I think he might play through the pain in this game just because it is a huge game for the Hawks. If they lose this game, they might lose this series. They might go down 3-1, and you never want to do that. as we'll actually talk about a series that was 3-1. But the Clippers pulled away with a huge victory tonight, or on Monday, I meant, as they won 116-102 against the Phoenix Suns and pushed the series to the 3-2 series lead for the Suns, as they were down 3-1. Now, the Clippers are right now missing Kawhi Leonard. He has not played all series long.
Nope.
And they're playing up against a pretty stacked Suns team. Paul George had 41 points, 13 rebounds. He was insane for the Clippers all night long. You also had Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris Sr. also step up big time for the Clippers, as they just really pulled away with a big victory. George was breaking ankles all over the court. Chris Paul's, Devin Booker's, everyone's. And also, don't worry, the Suns had a pretty good night as well. Booker had a good night. Chris Paul had a good night as well, but not as good as what Paul George had. 41 points, 13 rebounds, and this was a huge victory for the Clippers. And, I mean, you could only hope as a Clippers fan that you might see Kawhi Leonard back for Game 6. Hopefully. I think that's the best outcome for them, hopefully. But I don't know.
Fingers crossed, but I from what I saw when the injury first happened was that he potentially could miss this whole series, depending on how long it went. You know what I mean? And the longer it goes, that's more of a chance for him to potentially come back the longer this series goes. You know what I mean? But they were down 3-1. They had a really good victory on Monday. So that's good. But still, they still need to do 2 more games, okay? Because they're going into Game 6 on Wednesday or Thursday, right? Is that when the next game is? Thursday, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
So they're going into Game 6 on Wednesday. They're still down. They could still be eliminated. And Kawhi is still not in the lineup.
And can Paul George keep pulling off games like that for the next 2 games, right? That's going to be the biggest challenge. I mean, we would probably all love to see Kawhi Leonard back in a uniform right now for the Clippers, but we might not be seeing that. We were talking about in the last sports test that he might not even be returning in this series. So Paul George has to probably pull off another 2 big games, unless, one of the guys in the depth of the Clippers is going to want to step up big time. But it's a huge hill to climb here for the Clippers, and the Suns are going to be looking to finish it off on Wednesday. But now remember, everyone, there will be a game coming up today for Tuesday's upcoming games. The Milwaukee Bucks will be going up against the Atlanta Hawks at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Game 4. The Bucks are up 2-1 in the series, and Trae Young is questionable for Game 4 with a bone bruise.
Right.
So if Trae Young's out, it could be Dunzo for the Hawks.
Yeah, because facing both now are approaching Milwaukee and Atlanta are not quite at that level yet, but the Clippers and the Suns are definitely facing elimination here. If the Suns win the next game, that's it. It's over for the Clippers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if the Bucks win one more, that puts them up 3-1, and that makes it that much harder for the Hawks to try to come back from. So either way, it's still heating up in the NBA playoffs, and quite amazing to see even the Clippers win without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, the fact that they were able to win these 2 games at all, I think speaks volumes, not just of their bench, but of the depth they have on their team. Okay. When one guy is down like that and they're still able to kind of sort of win. I mean, they've won 2 so far. You know what I mean? So, but having him out has been a huge issue for the Clippers, and it's boding well for the Suns. So I'm looking forward to these games coming up here for sure.
Oh, yeah, we got some exciting action there in the NBA as we're almost getting close to the finals for the NBA as well. Yeah. So exciting times. We get to see the Stanley Cup get awarded here very soon, and also the NBA championship. But we also got some exciting MLB action on right now as well, as we'll get into the Monday's game. As right off the get-go, we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Phillies going up against the Cincinnati Reds, as the Reds pulled off a huge comeback victory, 12-4. Our guy Joe, the Professor Joe, was not happy about this game on Twitter last night. He was not happy at all.
No.
The bullpen blowed the game for the Phillies. They were up 4-2, and in the Cincinnati Reds, in the 7th and the 8th inning, scored a combined of 10 runs.
That's not good, guys.
It was like fingernails running across the chalkboard for the Phillies fans
no.
the bullpen just was not able to handle it. Multiple home runs for the Reds.
Mean? Your team lives and dies by your bullpen.
Yep, it does. It honestly does. Your bullpen is something to be relied on. We've seen it talking about in the headliners where the Blue Jays, bolster up that depth a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
We see here with the Phillies just get absolutely hammered because of the fact that their bullpen couldn't save them the game.
Yeah.
And
wow,
it was rough for them. And the Phillies, they're in that weaker NL East right now as well. And with this huge loss, that just puts them 5 games behind the New York Mets, and they just have not been good.
Yeah. They can ill afford to go down.
They have just been struggling. Cincinnati Reds, this is a big one. They're kind of getting a little bit closer to the Milwaukee Brewers, but still very far away with 6 games back. As we'll get into the next game as the New York Mets.
Hold on, real quick here. This is the second time now that the Phillies bullpen has given up double-digit runs in a game. Ooh. Right?
Jeez.
Because last week they played and they lost to the Nationals 11-12.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Cool. So now they're losing to the Cincinnati Reds by 12. That's a lot of runs, guys. That's a lot of runs. So
that is a lot of runs.
You need to shore up that bullpen, guys.
They do.
All right, now we can move on to the next one. Sorry, I just had to get that out there.
No worries. That was a great stat. As we'll move on to the next one, as we got the New York Mets going up against the Washington Nationals, as the Nationals pulled away with an 8-4 victory over the Mets. As this was a big one for the Nationals. Of course, the Mets are on top of that division, and the Nationals are only a couple games back of the Mets right now. So this was a huge one for the Nats. They had a great pitching showcase by Espinino. He gave a great 5 innings for them, only giving up 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. He was fantastic for the Nationals throughout the night. Awesome. And just a great night for the Nats. They were hitting dingers all night long.
I was just going to say, swinging really bats again, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of bats being hit. I mean, I think there was a combined 20 hits between these two teams. Wow. So they were both swinging dingers and everything. Like even in the 8th inning, there was 6 runs between both of the teams. It was pretty quiet all the way up until the end. Then they just started hitting everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, maybe it was the wind that shifted. Who knows? But yeah,
who knows?
It's funny how you get that though. Where some nights it's like the pitching is just able to keep the bats at bay, and then some nights it's like, nope, sorry, we're just going to hit whatever you throw across the plate. Sorry. Or even if you don't throw it across the plate, we're still knocking it out of here, So, but yeah, that's awesome to see, though.
It is. So we'll get on to the next one as the Pittsburgh Pirates took on the Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies pulled away with a 2-0 victory over the Pirates. And both of these teams most likely will not be making it into the playoffs, as this game for the Rockies was a pretty low-hitting game. The pitching was on its spot, as Freeland had a pretty good night for himself. He's been struggling this year, but in 5 innings of work, he only gave up 3 hits and 7 strikeouts. He just had a great night for himself. And also the starting pitcher for the Pirates wasn't too bad, only gave up 2 earned runs and had 3 strikeouts for himself, but was not enough to give the Pittsburgh Pirates a victory, as the Rockies walked away with a 2-0 victory for them.
Yeah, both teams have been struggling this year as well. Both teams are kind of sort of at the bottom of the standings here. Don't expect much out of these teams this year. I mean, you never know. But really, no. I guess we get past a certain point here, and then they become mathematically eliminated. You know what I mean? To a certain extent, once you get past a certain number of games back, you know what I mean? Then
yeah.
But a tough year for Pittsburgh. Also, the same thing with Colorado. So it's nice to see when the irrelevant teams can put together some wins and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, these teams are not going to be relevant this year. But it's good to see that they're still in it. They're still fighting. They're still playing. They're still, they're still trying. You know what I mean? So good on them. Good on them for being like that. So, all right, man. How about the Chicago Cubs dropping a big one here to the Milwaukee Brewers?
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah,
14
these look like
to 4.
football scores, right? 4 to 12,
I know.
4 to 12, 4 to 8, 4 to 14. Well, that's 2 touchdowns. 5 to 13. What? Wait, what's going on?
Well,
Are
I
you
think
sure
the biggest.
this is the Major League Baseball? Okay, all right. Just checking.
There was a bit of a pitcher's change a while ago. There's been a kind of problem with the baseball right now with a sticky situation is what they're calling it, where pitchers
Well, that's a good
use
way to
this,
put
like,
that. That's a good way to put that.
right. The pitchers are able to, like, they were able to use kind of like sunscreen or like sticky stuff for their hands to use on the ball. So when they throw the ball, they get more of a better spin rate. The ball moves a lot better when they have more of a grip on the baseball.
Ball. Yeah, when you can grip the ball instead of it slipping out of your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. All right.
So what the MLB did is they instigated a 10-game suspension, or I think it's a 10-day one, where if you are caught with any illegal substances that are sticky, you are suspended for 10 days. And so basically all the pitchers had to stop using their substances that they were using to have a better handle of the ball,
grip, whatever,
to throw that pitch. And now they've taken it away from all the pitchers. So they've been having a little bit of a sticky situation with that around Major League Baseball.
I like that.
And I think maybe the amount of hits have been coming, and the amount of runs have been coming from maybe, not being able to use the sticky stuff that they've been using throughout the years. So with these big, football games, is like what we like to call it, between the Brewers and Cubs. I think that might be the main reason why we've been seeing that. But otherwise, the Brewers, they whooped the Cubs without a doubt.
Putting it mildly.
Divisional rivals. This was a huge loss for the Cubs. Of course, they're right behind the Brewers right now. They would probably like to be ahead of them.
Yeah, can ill afford to be taking these kind of losses.
The pitching wasn't on top of its game. Hendricks did not do that bad, but gave up 7 hits and 4 runs. And then the bullpen just struggled and continued to struggle, and the Brewers just continued to hit dingers and continue hitting that ball all night long and dominated the Chicago Cubs in a big 14-4 win over the Cubs.
Man, like I said, are you sure this isn't the football league? All right. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Not with names like Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, the New York Yankees. This was also a pretty fun game as the Angels pulled away with a 5-3 victory. As Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher / hitter as well, which can you believe it? He pitches and hits, and also he's leading the league in dingers right now, when you know it, and he could also pitch. As he hit his first home run against the Yankees in his career, and it was a big one, as he's now tied up Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the most home runs in the league. Dylan Bundy also had a rough night. He was not dealing with the heat very well. He kind of vomited on the field after only an inning and a half of work. A little bit of heat exhaustion. A little bit of heat exhaustion there in the Angels.
Oh, my.
A little too hot. Too hot there, but Suarez took over. He dominated there for the Angels. Had a great night. Big victory for the Angels as they improved their record to a 38-40 record. But I mean, they're in a pretty stacked division right now, so they're 9.5 games back of the Houston Astros. So they're stuck in a pretty bad spot for themselves. But this is a big victory for them.
Houston's just running away, right? Yeah. Okay. So, and that's the other thing too, is that not only are we having the heat wave in the Pacific Northwest, but we're also having it in the East Coast as well too, where today and tomorrow the warnings are 105 to 110 for the heat index for today and for tomorrow. So it's actually worse today and tomorrow than what it was yesterday. Yesterday it was only 105. Okay, so yeah.
And me as a Canadian, we got 100 degrees down here, which is around the heat warning around here. I'm glad I'm living down in the basement, because I would be dying right now during this recording if I was not living in a basement, because my Lord, is it hot out there. So I definitely feel my man, what's his face again? Why did I Bondi? I definitely feel him. It was hot, and I probably would have I probably would have vomited on the field as well if it was that hot.
He gets a pass.
He does get a
He
pass.
gets a pass. He probably also got an IV after that too, but he gets a pass.
Probably.
All right. The next game on the list is, gosh, it's another football score. It's like the Detroit Tigers 5 and the Cleveland Indians 13. Wow. Boy, I guess somebody woke up the baseball bats, huh?
They were. I mean, it seems like that with every team. Ramirez, the DH there, he had 3 hits out of the night out of 5. Rosario, he had 3 out of 5 for the Indians. I mean, they were just hitting the ball all night long. Morgan as well had a decent night for himself. And I mean, both pitchers are kind of especially Manny for the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
In 3.5 innings, gave up 9 hits, 9 earned runs, and only 2 strikeouts. Also gave up 2 home runs as well. He had a rough night for the Tigers.
That's
it is. But this is a big win for the Indians. They get themselves 2 games behind the White Sox right now. So this is a big one. They're also going to be facing the Detroit Tigers once again tonight. So if they get another big win, they're going to continue getting closer to the White Sox. So that's great for them.
Good deal. All right. The final game on our scoreboard here, folks, is this is a baseball score, by the way. Just thought I'd let you all know that.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna rattle off baseball teams here. Okay. San Francisco Giants scored 2 runs against the 3 runs of the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is a baseball score.
Yeah, that is a baseball score. The pitching was actually good. Well, not really. They were giving up a lot of hits. The pitcher was giving up a lot of hits, but they did good stranding the bases on stranding the bases. So they did great job ending every inning off. Bauer gave up 8 hits, but did good at making sure that he didn't give up a lot of earned runs, only giving up 2. Had 8 strikeouts on the night. Same with DiScafiani, I think is how you say his name. He also had a decent night, having given up 5 hits. 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. He also had a good night for himself as well. But the Dodgers, they were just too strong, beating the best team in the MLB right now in the San Francisco Giants, as right now they're 2.5 game back of the San Francisco Giants. So the Dodgers looking to get on top of the NL West, as that will be it for the Monday's games, as we'll get into a little bit of the upcoming games for today, as we get the Seattle Mariners going up against the Toronto Blue Jays at 7:07 p.m. Eastern. Also, we get the Minnesota Twins going up against the Chicago White Sox at 8:10 p.m. Eastern time. And also the Texas Rangers going up against the Oakland Athletics, if you're staying up nice and late, at 9:40 p.m. Eastern. So we got some fun games coming up tonight, especially that Chicago White Sox ones. They're going to be looking to maybe bolster their lead in that AL Central, as their last 10. They are 3-7 in their last 10. So right now, they really need to get themselves going. So this is a big series against the Minnesota Twins, and they need to get a big win tonight.
Exactly. We also got is game 5 or no, game 3 tonight. Or no, I'm sorry, game 4 with
between the Bucks and the Hawks.
The Bucks and the Hawks, right? So that's game 4 tonight. Yeah. Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have Stanley Cup playoffs will be tomorrow night.
Wednesday.
Okay. Yes, Wednesday night. So, all right. Well, there you have it, folks, man. I'll tell you what. We got through it all. We got you the scoreboard. We got you the top stories. A lot of great stuff going on in the sports world right now. So be sure to check us out. Thank you for hitting the like and subscribe. Payton on the radio, man. Thank you very much for doing these, man. You are the man. We call you the prize. We call you that for a reason. Okay, for real. All right. So thank you very much for doing these shows, man. This is a blast. I love doing this. This is awesome. I love being able to inform everybody about what's going on with the top stories and everything like that. So really appreciate you doing these, man. Thank you very much. Also like to thank our sponsors, Canine Country Club Resorts. You can find them out on the web at www.cccresorts.com. You can find them out on Facebook as well, too. So thank you very much for their sponsorship. Payton, thanks, man. Really appreciate it, bro. Love doing these shows with you, man, and can't wait for us to do the next one. And just remember, folks,
I can't wait.
Yeah, man. Especially we're going to be talking about hockey games, more baseball games, potentially the ending of some series here with the with the NBA playoffs coming up here soon too. So you never know, man. Lots of stuff going on. Just remember, folks, thank you very much, and we will see you on the field.